Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with Olivia from OJC Astrology. You might know her on YouTube. She's also an ENFJ, and so we're going to discuss being an ENFJ, a little bit about astrology, and sort of her journey as an ENFJ coming into herself and the self-growth journey and all that fun stuff. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm a fan of her channel. I resonate with the things you say like so freaking much. Like, honestly, I just want to say too, of all the ENFJs I've met from the internet, I feel like even though I don't really know you that well, I just feel like I vibe with you so much.
Yeah. No, I get
like,
that.
oh my God, that's me.
When I first saw your channel, I felt like that too. I was like, oh my God, this girl is just like me. I felt like we had very similar energies when I found your channel too.
Which is interesting because I'm a Cancer rising and you're a Capricorn rising, right?
Yes.
So not to go too much.
Moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means your moon is in my 4th house.
Oh, okay.
Like, I feel like that right there could make us have similar ways.
Okay. Yeah. Not to go too much on a tangent here but like, do you think that having like the same axis of like Capricorn and Cancer as our ascendant, would that make us also vibe, or the opposite of, I mean, I don't know.
I think it does make us vibe, but it also is like you would be the opposite side of a coin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're the same coin, but two sides of it.
Yeah. And for those of you who are familiar with the cognitive functions, that kind of reminds me of like FITE axis, FETI sort of thing. But anyway, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are.
Oh God. So I definitely see myself as an astrologer, I guess. And I do, like, I'm not going to say I guess, but I don't know. I feel like I'm someone that, and I feel like you will relate to this. I think we both have this in common, that we just feel like we're here for a bigger purpose, or like we're here for a mission, or like we're here to not just only care about ourselves, but care about the collective, or care about what our movement or whatever that is for us. But I don't know. I feel like I'm a young person. I feel like I'm young, and I feel like I'm also wise. Like, I feel like I'm wise, but I'm still young, and I feel like I'm someone trying to find my way, but also impact and raise the frequency of the planet, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say that, like, with your channel, so it's interesting how you were like, oh, I guess I'm an astrologer. Would you say that you sort of started like to take people on the journey with you as you have discovered this stuff? Like, or how is that? Or why did you start your channel? How about that?
So I was in school, and I was just very into tarot and astrology, like even before I was in school. And when I was actually in school, my close friend Ivan, he was into tarot too. So it was just a thing, like we were always doing stuff like that. And then at one point I like changed my major to religion studies, and I wanted to start studying all these different things. And then I ended up leaving school because I felt like I needed to do something myself. Like, I felt like I wanted to pursue something myself. But I think that really what I wanted was to be able to have a conversation with the signs. Like, I loved the idea that like I could have a conversation with people, and that they would draw to me if they wanted to have this conversation with me. And it felt like I wanted to have a voice, and I wanted to be heard. I feel like I wanted to be heard, but I also wanted to speak, and I wanted like to give myself like to all the signs and give them something. So I feel like that's really what it was for me.
Yeah. And what sort of videos did you like, how long have you been doing YouTube?
I started making videos at the end of 2017.
Okay. So, actually, that's about whenever I started. I think I might have uploaded a video before then, but that's about the time when I started like doing it.
Me too. And it started where I was just doing like just tarot videos and like for the signs, and then it's definitely grown. It's everything I want to talk about. I feel like my messages every month, I feel like I have a different message and I want to create something new, and so it's definitely evolved. But I think that when I started, I thought that I would do well. Like I always have felt that people will either love me or they're gonna hate me, but they probably will like me. Or like I always felt it would be good. But I definitely didn't think that it would mean so much, if that makes sense. I didn't think that it would be something that would just completely I would throw myself into. Like I don't think I realized I was gonna do that. So that's been a lot to like accept in a way, but I feel like I'm always growing. I feel like I'm growing with the people. Like I feel like they see my growth and my progression, and that makes me feel good that I'm not just doing something all alone, that even if people are seeing my weaknesses or they're seeing things, at least it's like we're seeing things together. So
I feel like it's a very ENFJ approach of you to sort of want to start a conversation. Like when you first went to YouTube, it wasn't like, let me tell you everything that I know about X, Y, and Z. Like, not that it's bad to do that, but it's more the approach of like, hey, like, I feel like communicating something. I would like to hear what you have to say. And like, that's kind of how it evolves. At least that's how it was for me, is it can evolve. The more you get comments, then you are reminded of something that you could say. Like, it's like a back and forth conversation with the collective, you know?
And I think that ENFJ too, like, I think that a lot of people don't realize that, because I feel like we can come off as people who people can look at us and think that we are acting like we know it all. Or like are wanting to talk and like be this person that has this like, so I feel like that's been something I have to really work through too, because I know that I've had insecurities with that. Like I don't want people to think that I'm trying to be forceful or so, you know? So that's been a part of it too, that I think that it's almost like people don't like, I feel like ENFJ can really come off arrogant sometimes, or they can really come off like they're just bold people, but I think that inside we're very sensitive to that.
Because when you're in the zone, or sorry, go ahead.
I feel like we're very sensitive to how we are impacting people. So like when we feel like we're coming off very strong, or if we feel that people are not really receiving us well, it's very hard. It's very hard. So I've had to really I definitely had to get stronger.
Definitely. And I feel like I noticed this in your videos, so tell me if you relate to this, but this is kind of how I am. But when you get in the zone and like your introverted intuition, which is the ENFJ's auxiliary function, when you're really zoned in on this concept that you're trying to get out there to people, it's like we'll raise our voice and get so passionate. And it's like you're seeing it and you just know what you're about to say, and you're like, that sometimes people can take that as like you're yelling at them, or like that you're trying to. It's so funny. Like, I love how like in your videos, like you'll like just start singing a song or something that like kind of fits with the tarot reading.
And it just comes out. And I like about you too. When I saw your channel, I noticed that you were like, you would get loud, but I know like I do that too. So that was something that I like resonated with, that this is somebody who has passion, like they're getting in it, they're getting loud. But I know that there's also a lot of people who aren't into that and who will feel like, but I don't know, I feel like we can't even really help it.
I mean, I've just had to learn that like I can't please everyone, and as long as I'm showing up like for my people who want to know what I have to say, then that's the best thing I could do, because I think that we can water ourselves down if we try too hard to please everyone, because then you become just like a mediocre version of yourself, and then like your people can't recognize you. Like, I think, you know, also ENFJs can maybe seem obnoxious to some people, or like maybe we are a little bit obnoxious or weird. It's
Yeah.
like, but if we are too concerned about how that's going to come off, then like our own uniqueness like can't shine through, and
we block our authenticity.
yeah, and that's kind of what I really want to talk to you about, because I feel like ENFJs are really passionate, and a huge struggle for ENFJs is learning how to break through like sort of the sea of everyone else's opinions and everyone's feelings. And I imagine that, you know, some people looking at you might just imagine she's been confident like that probably her whole life. And not that you haven't been, but I know there's got to have been some sort of awakening, or, you know,
Oh yeah.
some sort of process you went through to even get to where you are now, and that it hasn't been easy. Because I mean, I perceive you as very confident. You seem very confident in your videos. I'm like, that's a girl who knows who she is, you know. That's why
Yeah.
I like about you. But that's hard to do, you
Yeah,
know.
it is. I feel like I remember one time you made a video and you said that it was an ENFJ video, and you said that
Mhm.
there are times when we wonder if people are like repulsed by us.
Yeah.
It was something about how like that feeling, and I feel like I've had to go through a lot of that. Like I have gone
Mhm.
through a lot of my life like fighting to be confident and like
Mhm.
fighting to be myself, but that also making me feel like I must be absolutely dreadful, or like I
Yeah.
must be like I've had to really like in a way I feel like ENFJ has to almost like conquer everyone just to feel like now
Mhm.
we're taken in, or like now
Yeah.
we're being really received in a way. Like I feel like I've really had to fight for my confidence, because it's
Mhm.
like for a long time things would really get to me and it would make me shut down, and it would like I feel like when I'm in a low vibration or I'm depressed, I'm more like an INFJ, and I
Mhm.
withdraw, and I feel very like I don't want to be confident. I don't want to be seen. I don't want anybody to feel anything about me or think anything of me. And I think that I've had to like force myself to feel confident about who I am. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that generally as extroverts, we get our energy more from the external environment. But for us, like if our people around us are like toxic people, or like not good for us, or there's like
Hmm.
negative energy there, then we can be completely drained like by
Yes.
that. And we can like turn into like more introverted versions of ourselves, you know? So it's very, very important for ENFJs to pay attention to like the people around you and the emotions around you, and make sure that you aren't just staying in a situation because you want to be nice or something. Because for those of you who are new, the dominant function of the ENFJ, well, okay, actually, those of you who are completely brand new to personality type, there are 8 cognitive functions that sort of are, there are 16 personality types, and there are 8 cognitive functions that sort of are how you function in your brain and your mind, which I guess I'm curious. So I always say that personality type is like your mind, but I don't really think that your astrology chart necessarily is your mind. I don't know if you've thought a lot about how these things conflict, but or like go together, but I personally think that you can be any sort of sun sign, any sort of combination with any type, that it's
Yeah.
just a completely different layer. There might be some correlations that you can find between things. Like the main correlation I see is that earth is like sensing, thinking is air, and
Okay.
then feeling is water, and then fire is intuition.
I get that. I would agree with that.
But, and I'm pretty sure Carl Jung said something like that as well. And then for those of you who know tarot, you know how those correlate as well. Um, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that every ENFJ is going to be like a water sign or like a fire sign.
Yeah, true.
Um, so there could be all combinations. So the main cognitive function of an ENFJ is extroverted feeling, which means that we prefer to focus on the emotional data in the external world. And so I think the sort of process that we're talking about of us becoming our best selves and our higher self sort of involves our default is seeing all these things, all of the emotions around us. And it's like, which one of these do I want to identify with? Which one of these is going to be my life path? Then we use our introverted intuition, our inner wisdom, and we can cut through all of that and actually be our best selves and actually help the collective, because we do want to help the collective. But it's like, are you swimming in that collective, drowning, or are you doing something for them? So, yeah.
And I feel like, for me, I think I've always been like a dreamer. Like I've always been somebody who felt like I'm going to be somebody, or I'm going to do something that matters. And I think that when I was growing up and evolving, in a way, it was like I wanted to be someone that matters. So I had that confidence, but it took me time to really figure out, but what do I really want? Or like, what really matters to me? Because it's like, you can have all the drive to be someone and do something great, but if it's not really in alignment with who you really are, then you're just going to be like chasing missions that probably don't even belong to you. And I feel like that was something for me too. Like I always had confidence, but I didn't always have confidence in like my truth. So it was like, I knew I could do things and I could impact and I could inspire and I could like be this great person, but it was more about, but who am I really? You know what I mean? Who do I really want to be? Like, I like how you said we have to choose what we want to identify with. Because I think that if an ENFJ is in an environment that's very negative or it's very like harmful to them, then it could be very hard. Like, I feel like that's really hard for us. And we have to really figure out ourselves to even understand how to identify with anything. Because like, I feel like that was a lot of my life too. But I've always really known myself. I feel like ENFJ knows themselves.
It's weird because so our introverted intuition, it's sort of like we're wise beyond our years in some senses. I resonated with what you're saying, like you're wise, but you're a child. Like that's sort of like how ENFJs can struggle to be grounded, like in the real world. And so I can be a little bit naive in some senses, but at the same time, I'm like this wise old soul at the same time. And so I feel like I've always known myself too, but more in an intuitive way. I haven't necessarily known like what I think or how I feel, that sort of thing. Like I've like known my soul, but not like like the specifics of that. What was I gonna say? Oh, and also like not knowing your truth, you said, or embodying your truth. Our inferior function is introverted thinking, which is all about like, what are my personal opinions? What do I personally think? And that is something that is a part of us, but it's more in the shadow and the subconscious. And that's, I think, the lifelong journey of an ENFJ. I call the inferior, I also like to call it the diamond in the rough sort of thing. Like if you can tap into that, like what is your truth, and like can you stand for something like that you think, like can you refine your opinions and your intellect and all of that and do something for your truth? Like that is kind of the journey, you know. But anyway,
I think that function can make us be almost painfully critical.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have like this inner voice that is always refining, like, does that sound stupid? Like, what are they going to think of that? Like that sort of thing.
And I'll listen to other people too. Like I will listen and respect other people's truth. So I think that that also, we have to learn how to like not let that mold ours, because I think that we're open to other people, and that's why within ourselves it could be really critical and confusing, because it's like, well, they make a good point, or that's a truth I could understand or honor, and we have to really figure out, but what is mine? And I think that can bring a lot of self-criticism. I think that we can be
Yeah.
very critical of ourselves, and
Yeah.
people don't really see it though. I don't think
Mm-mm.
people see that.
Yeah. I think
That
part of it because it's introverted.
yeah, it goes really deep. I feel like
Oh
we really.
yeah.
I know you have your Venus in Virgo, right?
Yeah, yeah.
My moon is in Virgo, so I feel like having
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Virgo energy, also being an ENFJ, could make that like
Oh
double.
yeah.
It can make you way more of a thinker
Oh
inside.
yeah. I did a video once where I went through all of the signs and I sort of just shared what cognitive functions I think can kind of connect. I don't know if you saw that one, but
And
Virgo to me seems very introverted thinking in a
yes,
way.
very.
So I can totally see how if your moon's in Virgo, that can make that even more intense for you.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because just like Virgo discriminates from what it wants and what it doesn't want, and it doesn't have to be doing it in a mean way. It's actually shaping and polishing to make things better,
Yeah, it's
you know.
productive.
Yeah. And yeah, we kind of have that going on in the back of our mind like as ENFJs. So I kind of just want to ask, like, when did you discover your personality type and
Mhm.
sort of your journey with that?
I feel like I've known I was an ENFJ probably for at least like 2 years,
Uh-huh.
but I definitely have gotten more into it this year.
Mhm.
uh, Way more into it this year, but I feel like it's very, very helpful. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like typology is even more helpful than astrology in a lot of
Mm,
ways,
interesting.
because it's like I honestly identify with ENFJ so much. Like, I feel
Mhm.
like it is very clear, and I very strongly identify with it, whereas in astrology it can be perceptive, and it's a little bit more fluid, and it's a little
Mhm.
bit more like metaphysical. And whereas
Mhm.
typology to me just feels like it's kind of, I guess you could say, science, right? Like, it's science, it's
Yeah.
psychology, it's the mind. So to me,
Yeah.
I think this year I've gotten more into it because it's provided me, I feel so, like, I feel like I am an ENFJ. You know what I mean? Where I feel like
Yeah.
I'm my chart, but it feels so identifying. It feels so clear, and it makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, in the way that you
Yeah.
explain, and it's a real thing. Like, it has real
Yeah.
explanation, and it's like that to me, it feels so good. It feels so
Yeah, because you
good.
could look at patterns of people and like the gist of it, like extroversion, introversion, feeling, thinking, sensing, intuition. These are sort of dichotomies that you can sort of see in astrology too,
Yeah.
as well. Like, I mean, I would maybe say extroverted would be like the top half of the chart or of the
Okay.
houses,
Yeah.
maybe. And then
Hmm.
like introverted being like the bottom half. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like maybe like there are certain signs that might be more introverted than others. Like I would just say off the top of my head that Cancer is probably more introverted than Leo or something.
Right.
But and so I think when talking about typology, these basic sort of dimensions that Jung identified, which Carl Jung was into astrology and tarot,
Hmm.
which a lot of people in the typology community don't really realize. What really stresses me out is that I really like astrology and tarot,
Yeah, me
but
too.
typology is sort of this weird, like, because um, it is more psychology, but it's even amongst psychologists, there is a sort of feeling that it's too woo woo and like kind of a pseudoscience. So then there's people that kind of cling so much to like, oh, but it is science because they're afraid of it being pseudoscience,
Yeah.
and so it's weird, but the way Carl Jung talked about these functions is that it exists like in the psyche, which is like the mind, body, soul. Like he looked at it holistically.
Hmm.
But yeah, so and how would you say, so okay, I guess, so type, there are these 16 archetypes that we can grab onto, and we can look at these themes, and you can look at other ENFJs to sort of see how they are. Type doesn't 100% say what your behavior is going to do, but it might be a little bit more clear than in astrology even, because would you say, so my astrology knowledge, most of what I know is from a personality standpoint of how it manifests in my personality. I don't know that much about the transits or that sort of stuff, or like predicting. But just talking about personality astrology, how would you suggest people looking at their chart? Like, is there a clear path to like use that information like for self-growth? Or how would you sort of compare that?
Compare the typology versus your like chart in astrology?
Yeah, I mean, because you're saying that you think it feels kind of grounded of like, oh, I am an ENFJ, like maybe it makes it easier to use the tool. Like, I don't know, would you say that it's a little bit more nuanced or convoluted, like to try and use your chart?
I feel like astrology is harder to grasp. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's harder for people to grasp because there's so much to it. There's so much like it's your planets, you know, it's your the houses, it's the degrees, it's like certain transits happening, it's certain, like there's so many layers to astrology
Mm-hmm.
that I think that like the reason I feel that it's so much clearer to understand the typology is because
Mm-hmm.
it has its functions and you can understand things, and it's like it's very whole. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
typology is very whole, whereas astrology is more like, I think that the best way for people to use astrology is to know it collectively. Like sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
better to understand what's going on. Like you need to
Uh-huh.
know like where the sun is right now, because that means it's moving through a specific house for you. And you need to know,
Yeah.
like I feel like astrology works best when you apply it to like daily life, like just
Okay, yeah.
transits and like how you are being affected based on energy. So I feel like, but when it comes to understanding ourselves, I feel like typology can help a person get more clear. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
more
that's
to
true.
me about it's more to me about that clarity that comes with it. Whereas astrology is
Yeah.
something that you can study for so long and
Mm,
constantly
yeah.
unravel and unravel and unravel it. It's kind of like a big rabbit hole. And that's why I think a lot of people
Yeah.
are intimidated too by it. Like,
Yeah.
because there's just so many layers to it. Whereas like for me, I'm a Pisces, and I
Mhm.
identify with being a Pisces, and I identify with all of my chart. But I do feel that the chart interacts with itself to where,
Yeah.
and your energies interact with themselves to where you may be, if you only look at life and yourself through the eyes of astrology, you're going to be in a constant state of change on a daily basis. Whereas if you look
Yeah.
at your life and yourself through typology, you'll have a more clear understanding of like how your brain is actually processing.
Yeah, like how it functions. It's like, okay, this is your dominant function. Here's your auxiliary function, where it's clear how the components work.
Yeah.
Where for astrology, like let's say if there were to be another um Pisces with a Virgo moon, maybe their energies would work differently. Even if they were born the same exact time as you or something,
Exactly.
maybe they would have an experience where then their Venus would show up, or I don't know.
Exactly.
Like there's not, it almost seems like it's thrown in the pot and you're stirring it up or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like there's not a clear, like, okay, here's your first, here's your second.
Hmm.
Um,
I think it's also because astrology is constant, in constant motion. Like it's alive. Like that's why we have like a progress chart, you know, and we have like
mhm.
even ourself is constantly changing. Like our natal chart is constantly moving, because it's like honestly our natal chart is really just that moment of birth. It's like as
Yeah.
you came to life, I look at it in a way of like when you came out and you like inhaled your first breath, this was the energetics blueprint. This was
Yeah.
be your energetic vibration. This was going to be your, but through your life and through your experiences and through even where you could literally be in a different state, and
Yeah.
that changes how certain things are affecting you because you're at a distance somewhere geographically. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
astrology is also geographic. It's also very like time matters. So there's just so much to it that it's
It's
something that
almost like
you really connect with to use it.
it's almost like astrology can be used to explain everything and anything, whereas type can only really be used to explain like how you process things.
Yeah.
Where I think that some people in the typology community can kind of go a little bit outside of bounds and try and use type to explain things that type can't really explain.
Mhm.
Like, for example, two people could be the same personality type, but if they have a different political belief or if they have different opinions on things, they were raised differently, they value different things, and that doesn't mean they're going to get along. They aren't going to act the same.
Yeah.
And you can't really, like, since their cognitive functions, they exist in the mind, it's still on us, like, how we want to proceed. Like, both of us as ENFJs, we have the choice how we want to use our extroverted feeling.
Yeah.
And I said this before on my channel, like, we can be reactive or we can be proactive with it. Like, an extroverted feeling, I would say a more unhealthy version of extroverted feeling is total people pleaser, doesn't know who they are, like puts everyone above themselves, is like, oh, I'm the helper, I do everything for everyone and nobody ever does anything for me, and they don't take responsibility.
Right.
That's something that if you are an ENFJ watching, like, taking responsibility and being like, you know what, like, because we can't change the fact that we're ENFJs. Like, it's something that we're born with. Like, it's just sort of the sort of engine that you happen to have in your brain. We can't change the fact that we're always going to sort of be aware of the emotions in the collective, but we can change how we act, how we approach that.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm curious if you can sort of illustrate, how does that, or actually, do you mind if I read
Yeah, sure.
some stuff?
I was gonna say too, before you do
Mm-hmm.
that, I know that
Yeah,
there's been videos that I watch of you talking about
Mm-hmm.
ENFJ where what you're saying is so personal to me that I'm in shock. Like, and I'm like, no, like, and it'll feel like, no, I have never heard this before.
Interesting.
I've never heard that before. And it's so personal. Like, I relate so personally. Whereas you could watch a video, like you could watch something from my channel and you're going to relate to it, but it's not, it may not be like, like, I don't know. It's like astrology to me is very spiritual. Like, it's very, very spiritual. It's very, very esoteric. It's very interpretive, but like, I know that when I watch something of ENFJ, it hits so close. Whereas nothing feels like that. Like, I can resonate with all of my signs and all of my aspects, but there's just something about I don't know, it's so personal. It's so real. Like,
I think part of it too is that because you have all signs showing up in your entire chart, that you have aspects of all of them in you, to where even if you don't have a planet there or something, it's still an aspect that you can be like, I can see that. But like with type, like, you're either an ENFJ or you're not. Like, there are 16 types, and the way that you describe how it processes it is kind of airtight, which I think it can make people have a hard time believing as well, because they can say, I don't want to be put into a box. And so that's the main thing that I stress, is that, I mean, it's not like you're being put in a box you can't change. It's more like saying you're naturally red, you're naturally purple. Like, you're either that color or you're not, but you can change, I guess, your expression. Yeah.
I honestly love the box of it.
You
I
do?
personally
Yeah.
love the box of being the ENFJ. Like I could literally throw like a little house party in that box because
Oh my gosh, yeah.
so like I like that. I like that it's a box like that because it makes me feel understood and makes real. That's probably my Virgo moon though. Like I just love that.
I think that I can probably resonate with that too. It's just been so long since I've known it that I forget, but I know for like whenever I first learned about type, like most of my best friends were like ENFP, INFP, ESFP, that whenever I read about ENFJ and like kind of learning about extroverted feeling, it did feel like, oh, okay, like there are others out there like me. Like I'm not like this crazy person. I don't know. Like,
yes, I attract a lot of INFPs too.
Yeah. And
INFPs in my life.
And we're very different. And I think that we can maybe seem more similar at first, or like we definitely have things in common with INFPs, but the way we process is completely inverted. Like some people say that the INFP would be like the shadow side to the ENFJ.
I feel like in a way that's how we have opposite ascendant. That's typology. Like INFP is like the opposite or the shadow of ENFJ. So I get that.
And some people even say too that like under stress an ENFJ will transform into an INFP or something.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes like if I'm really sad about something, there'll be moments where I'm just feeling sorry for myself, lazy, can't move, but I really don't like being that way. Like it's not my default state. Like I do not want to mope like at all. Like my inferior introverted thinking will start being really mean to myself if I'm like that for too long. But I kind of want to ask you some stuff so that you can share how you relate to being an ENFJ so that, you know, people can see another example. So I did sort of talk a little bit about extroverted feeling already, but I kind of want you to share either some anecdotes or just a reflection of how extroverted feeling is for you. And so this is your autopilot function. It's a judging function that uses objective values and ethics to make tribe-based decisions. FE will try and seek mutual benefit and win-win scenarios. And when this is placed in the autopilot slot, this function takes little to no energy to use. It's your default state of being, perhaps, and I'm kind of reading off of something I wrote, by the way, but like, perhaps you might be shocked to realize that other people don't think this way whenever it's in your autopilot. Yeah. So anyway, how do you relate to that?
That I think is a big part of my life, and it's always been like, even when I was younger, like when I was in high school, I was like the class president, and I was always somebody that I feel like it's a sense of belonging. I feel like I can't help but to feel like I belong or I want to belong in a way. And I think that the extroverted feeling, this is kind of off topic, but I feel like throughout my life, I've attracted a lot of people who are not like that. And it has made me see myself, because I feel like throughout my life, I've attracted a lot of people who are very to themselves and they just think about what they think and they feel what they feel, and they kind of are going to stay to themselves. Whereas I've always been this person that is very natural for me. Like if I'm in a group of people, I'm really truly like all about that. And I'm really taking things in. I'm really observing. I'm really feeling into everything. I can talk to anybody. I can have a conversation with anybody. Some people will not do that. Like some people are, you know, and I feel like throughout my life, I could have been perceived. I feel like that can make us sometimes seem kind of like extra, or that can make it seem kind of like, or I know like even in my relationships and stuff, that could be a thing where it's like you're very friendly, or you're very like, I'll talk to anybody, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that maybe it's because it gives us energy, but I think that it's also, we want to make a good impression on people. in a
Yeah.
way. Like, I think that that is also a big part of it too, where it's like, I don't want anybody to feel like shit if they're around me,
Mhm.
because then I'm gonna feel it.
Yeah,
Or like,
and we can sort of take on that responsibility of the
yeah,
entire group's emotions. Like, and we can have trouble not knowing like what is my responsibility and what's not, and like learning that maybe like also part of this is realizing that, and Carl Jung talks about this too, is that w- our egos are a little bit overinflated and we kind of over identify with things. So
yeah.
like extroverted feeling, we do it a little bit too much.
Mhm.
And if something is your dominant function, you'll kind of have to realize like, oh, maybe I am taking a little bit too much responsibility for the group.
Yeah.
Like it's good because we can create these warm environments and make people feel really seen and like I'm sure, have you had to take the initiative a lot in like friendships and dating?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Have
Like,
you
uh,
ever been like waiting for a text back from an introvert?
yeah, I'm just like I feel in a way I can come off as rude because of that. Like,
Uh-huh.
I think
Yeah.
that I'm just not afraid to lead. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to speak. I'm not afraid to, and I think that that also draws people to us to make
Mhm.
decisions, to take the
Mhm.
responsibility, to lead. Like, if I'm in a room with a bunch of people that know me, and let's say I'm the ENFJ there, I know that if there's something going on, everybody's gonna kind of like want to know what I think, or they're gonna kind of
Yeah.
like, in some way, it's like I always end up being a leader somehow. But
Yeah.
I think that it's also, I think that that's also a way that we don't get too intimate. Like, I think that that's
Yeah.
also a way that we can just be here and be good, and it's all good, so that we don't
Yeah.
actually have to get close to anyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's
Yeah.
also it's like a good thing, but it's also, I think, like a protective thing, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna treat
Yeah.
everyone here the same. I'm gonna be cool. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be good because I don't want any problems really, and I don't want to
Yeah.
get too close even. So I think it's also
We
that too.
I feel like there's also sort of a weird relationship to vulnerability to where on one hand we are really open and really vulnerable. Like I mean both of us like probably share so much of our lives online compared to most people.
Yeah.
Um but I would be willing to bet cuz there's so many things about me that it, I feel like people online they just assume things about me that like it's like they don't even know the half of it. Like they don't know me at all. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that happens to you too. Like there's probably so much more that you just don't see
Yes.
because
We're in control of that.
yeah, we
I
are.
feel like we
Yeah.
have good control over that. I think that we are very good at controlling how we're being perceived, controlling kind of how
Mhm.
we're mixing and what we're
Yeah.
sharing. I think that ENFJ knows what they're sharing, and if they're sharing it, it probably doesn't matter that much, or it's probably
Yeah.
something you don't really care if people know about it. But I think that there's a lot that we would probably not share unless it was going to help people, unless it was going to be
Yeah.
something like for the greater good. But I think that a lot of people, I think they really know us, and they think
Yeah.
they really know our behavior and our nature. But I think that when you're really close to us, there's
Yeah.
a whole different side
Absolutely.
that
And
comes
it's
out.
weird because it's like I don't want to hold back. Like I'm
Yeah.
not like trying to hide anything,
Yeah.
but some things just don't come to mind as important or like I think for some like personal emotions and sensitivities kind of needs to be drawn out of me from like a trusted friend, like
Hmm.
curious enough to ask, like and with all of my friendships, my goal is to sort of get to the place where I can sort of take the mask off, you
Yeah.
know?
Definitely.
Because it is really exhausting. Like, even though it is easy for us to talk to people compared to other types, it can get really exhausting, like, always being like, I always feel like I have to be on, like, emotionally. Like, I like, won't want to go to a party or something if I'm in a bad mood because I won't want to, like, make other people feel bad. You know what
Mm.
I mean?
Yeah.
I think we also can, hide a lot of negative emotions because we're aware of like how we could be like a party pooper or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anything else that you want to say on extroverted feeling?
I think that it's because it's a dominant function, right? So it means that
Yeah.
we're just kind of doing it all the time without really trying. Like
Yeah.
it's something that just comes very natural. So I think that maybe that's why to be very intimate and very
Yeah.
one could feel a little bit scary because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're way more comfortable with like just sensing and feeling and that expression. So I think that that's probably the,
Yeah.
like, I know we have the is it introverted intuition,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I think that that part of us is really saved for
Hmm.
special people, or that's saved for,
Yeah, it is.
and I think that people, like, I think that in a way, this is how we also put ourselves in the world to serve. I think that this is how we
Yeah.
serve by, like, we see it as like, this is just who we are, this is what we do. Whereas we're not going to necessarily show that introverted, intuitive side to
Mm-hmm.
the world, which is, I think that that's really more of who we are inside.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. And
mean?
I think sometimes I hear things or people will say that ENFJs are like the least intuitives or like things like that. And it's like kind of sad because, okay, if we were to look at all of the intuitives, the way the ENFJs are, since our dominant is extroverted feeling, we are trying to sort of build bridges with people,
Mhm.
different types of people, and like listen to them, see their sides and stuff, to where we can be kind of chameleon like and like hang out with all different sorts of people. Where
Yeah.
like I feel like our like inner weirdness, I guess, can
Mhm.
sort of be hidden. I don't
Yeah.
know, not always, but I feel like you and I probably both are making an intentional effort to bring that out,
Yes, I agree with that.
like with your videos and stuff, like even talking about astrology and like, are you a channel or how would you consider, I guess, your psychic abilities?
Yeah. I feel like I'm a channeler. I was going to say that I feel
Yeah.
ENFJ has more psychic ability, but I think
Yeah.
that's because we're able to tap into other people's emotions. We're able to see
Yes.
collective emotional patterns where
Yeah.
it's very easy for us to, if I'm like watching something on TV, I already can see what all these people are kind of feeling. And
Yeah.
so I think that very we can just, that's a gift. I feel like we have that gift, which is
Hmm.
what makes us a little bit very psychic and able to see patterns and stuff.
Yeah.
I
The
feel
way
like,
I see it, or go ahead.
no, say what you're gonna say.
Or I was just going to say, like, emotional intelligence is sort of correlated with feeling, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that if you're a thinker, you have low
Yeah.
emotional intelligence. I kind of see intuition and psychicness in a similar way, to where like we all have the ability to be psychic,
Yeah.
but perhaps if you are an intuitive, like your reality might be like sort of swimming in that world, like
Hmm.
just naturally.
Right.
And I think that, I've heard too before that ENFJs are very, like, a lot of spiritual leaders are ENFJs. Like,
Hmm.
I would say in amongst organized religion, but also I see a lot of astrologers. I see, you know, tarot like I think that we I'm kind of the stereotype is that ENFJs are kind of cult leaders. you know, part of that is could just be an unhealthy ENFJ, but part of that also I think could be a misunderstanding of what it is that we're really doing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I don't think we even care that much about how many people agree or not. Like, I don't think that
Yeah.
ENFJ necessarily cares that much if people, like, I think that for us it's more about expressing ourselves, and
Hmm.
I think it's more about us just being in our truth. So I think that because we are
Yeah.
like that, we naturally draw an audience. We
Yeah.
naturally will draw people who like that, people who are inspired by that. I think that we don't even
Yeah.
really try to do that, which is why it
Yeah.
comes so naturally, like without, I don't think a lot of us have like this agenda. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
we do.
exactly. And so we aren't calculated, and we're often, I feel like people often project upon ENFJs as being really calculated and
Yeah.
controlling, where emotions are influential, but
Mhm.
we're not really trying to influence. Like, it's like we want to maybe find our people or our tribe or inspire people to be happier, but it's not like this sort of calculated, like, I want to make people do X, Y, and Z to make me happy. Like, it's so not that at all.
Yeah, because we would be that way even in small circumstances. Like I think
Hmm.
even in a moment where there's only two people involved, we're gonna be that same way. Like I think that it's
Yeah.
not really about, it's not even really about all of people. It's just about that we're gonna be like that regardless, whether we draw the audience
Yeah.
or not. I think that's why it comes to us more naturally.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you were saying that, like, the NI is sort of our real, our like our inner self that maybe we don't share,
Hmm.
because for those of you who don't know on my channel, like, I'm psychic. Like, I
Yeah.
like don't talk about it. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I don't want to like say it like that. Or I mean, like, I also think anyone could be, but like, there's
Me
so
too.
much that I don't like share. I
Yes.
don't know. Like, I don't know.
Me too.
Like, and I've also been I've been like studying astrology for like, I've known about my natal chart since like 2014. Like, I've been studying it more in depth the past 2 years, but like, I still, like, I will talk about it sometimes, but like,
The
I
same.
still am like ruminating on it a lot,
Yeah.
and things are just sort of going on in the back of my mind that, like, I have a couple friends that I will sort of throw some ideas around with, but those don't get out until I have thought about them long enough, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. I understand that.
And there's a lot of just like weirdness, like me thinking about my past lives, me having these memories, like journaling about them and like trying to piece everything together. And like, I guess
Yeah.
maybe I should read the NI description and
Mhm.
move on to that, because I feel like whether you're into this weird metaphysical shit like us or not, ENFJs are probably going to have something. Like, intuition is about what you can't see.
Mhm.
So maybe that could be just traditional Christianity, just God. Maybe that could be nature. It's
Yeah.
still like some sort of connection you have with like the essence of the universe.
Yes. I agree.
Um, so I call the auxiliary function, I call this the growth key function, because it is something that we can leverage for our growth. It's something that's easy for us to use, but it's not something we're doing without thinking
Yeah.
necessarily. It's introverted intuition is a perceiving function that organizes our subjective, abstract concepts from our own personal impressions to interpret all the possibilities. So since when we're interpreting the possibilities, we can kind of sense like what's probable.
Hmm.
And I always seeks to really understand reality as opposed to just taking things as face value. And yeah, and another thing with that, sort of a metaphor I think of about NI versus NE, for example, is that NI can really notice the root behind things.
Hmm.
And I think part of the reason why I did a video once where I was like, is NI psychic? Because a lot of people talk about NJs as being really
I've watched
psychic.
the video. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
And like, I think it is more likely for NI to do that, but also part of it is just like, we're so aware, like, if you plant a seed, then something's going to grow. Like, we're kind of one step ahead. And like, it's easy to look with like a nature example of like, if you plant this type of tree,
Yeah.
a seed, then you can expect this type of tree to grow. And
Hmm.
so you'll hear ENFJs be like, oh, this sort of tree is about to grow. And people are like, how did you know that? Where did you get that from? And it's like, oh, because the seed, but like the seed is beneath the surface. So some
Yes.
people might think, oh, you're just making shit up or whatever. Like, because introverted intuition is, it's not only something that's intangible, but it's also introverted. It's like really in the dark.
Very.
So what we're looking at, it's like, and also NJs, which are the types that use introverted intuition the most, are the rarest. It's the rarest perceiving function.
Yeah.
Like only 30% of the world is an intuitive, but among that 30%, I don't know specifically because this science changes all the time, but even less, like among the intuitives, introverted intuition is like the rarest function. So I think this can make us feel very like alienated, or like that we're seeing something that people aren't seeing. So how would you reflect on that?
Well, there's so much that I can say about that. There's so much, because you said something earlier about how sometimes you can feel like an INFP,
Mm-hmm.
like when you're feeling down or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I feel like, I think that that's the like subjectivity. I think
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes we can be very deeply in a whole portal of like
Mm-hmm.
subjective feelings and all of this stuff. And I think that it can be like overwhelming. I think that's why we find the root, and we need to find the seed, and we want to find that, because if we know that, then we know pretty much the whole of what we need to know. Because I think that also
Yeah.
we can be very, very like, I know sometimes I will ask myself like, is this real? Or like, is
Mm-hmm.
this is this subjective? Is this whatever? But I think that that's also why the NI makes us trust ourselves. Like, we have to learn to trust ourselves, and we need to learn
Yeah.
discernment, because it's
Mm-hmm.
so easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so easy. I know, just even for me, like sometimes I can truly be so indulged into my own inner world that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's been so many times in my life where I'm being gaslighted, you know what I mean? Or like I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying something and I really feel strongly about this, but to someone else who doesn't see under our surface, who isn't understanding where we're getting something from, we really can
Mm-hmm.
come off as like, we think that we are maybe superior, or we think that we
Yeah.
know something, or we think
Mm-hmm.
that um and I think that that's also that isolated feeling, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to express stuff like that. Like, it's very hard
Yeah.
to share that, and it's also hard because I think that that puts us in a position where we can be rejected. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when we feel these things, or we have these like insights, or we have these like hidden feelings, because then people are like, well, it's hidden. And when you have something that's
Yeah.
naturally hidden and within you, it can make other people use their discernment and not want to trust you, or not want to listen to you, or like project onto you something that they're dealing with. So I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
puts us in a position where we have to learn to really trust ourselves and learn discernment. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know that throughout my life, there have been many times in my life where I am in an illusion. And I know it's probably more because I'm a Pisces too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there has definitely been times in my life where I am very, very down of a thought, or in a whole thing that's super subjective. It's super, super personal to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that throughout my life, I have had to, like you said, that this is something you can use for growth. I have definitely had to learn how to listen to myself and trust myself, because
Mm-hmm.
there's been a lot of times in my life where I really am convinced of something that it might not be true, where I'm literally wrong.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
thing, is that it is subjective. And because I was going to say earlier, when you were saying that you could feel like gaslit, like I've definitely struggled with that. And I think that to some people, it could seem like our introverted intuition is just completely making shit up and
yeah,
like completely delusional, but also stubbornly delusional. And the thing
yeah,
is that sometimes we are, but the only way to really get out of that is to address it, and
yes,
to dig and see
mm,
what we're seeing, you know, and you know, And it's funny because like I'm dating an INFJ, so she
Yeah.
uses introverted intuition. And what's really interesting is seeing us interact. I can see that sometimes she's really convinced about something that isn't true.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy to see whenever you're looking outside yourself. And like I see that sometimes in my like other like NFJ friends, but I think that, you know, sometimes we are onto something and sometimes the other person just isn't digging beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, I think, I would say our responsibility to sort of be open to being wrong and, you know, share it and like refine it and like, because sometimes people just aren't going to get it and that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
you know,
I
those
think it
aren't your people.
Yeah, and I
But,
think it also builds our character though, because
mhm.
I think that the stubborn thing, like being stubbornly in a feeling, it's like even if we're wrong, it's probably just because we're wrong to whoever's perceiving it. Whereas
Yeah.
within ourselves, if it feels true, it's like I don't even care if it's not true. Like in a way,
Yeah.
because I feel something so strongly. It's almost like I think that's the stubbornness too, because it is so introverted and personal. So where it's like
Hmm.
nobody can confirm it for you. It's coming from you. It's coming from
Yeah.
your thing. So no, it's also like I think that we learn that we can't seek validation outside of ourselves. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
There's so much inside that nothing is really going to confirm it. And if you're speaking to the
Mm.
wrong people, they're probably going to make you question it and they're probably going to make you kind of doubt it. So I think that that's
Yeah.
also why we have to really, like, I know times in my life where I've been wrong, but I will still be proud that I believed it because I will felt
Yeah.
so strongly about something that I didn't even care if I was perceived
Yeah.
as like
And
whatever.
something that I've noticed too is that if I follow through, then my intuition will change if necessary.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like there was one time when I was like so sure that this person was like my soulmate who I was going to be with forever. And we probably were soulmates of some sense or whatever. But the thing is that I got like these visions and dreams and like was very much like perceiving all this stuff. And then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I wonder if you've been there too.
Yeah.
But also, like,
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for following my heart because the thing is, so that sooner or later, then I get the download of, oh, wait, no, it's not that. And,
Yeah.
you know, like, it's not like you're going to be, I don't know, it's not like I'm going to be delusional about something forever. Like, as things change, like, you get more information. I
Hmm.
don't know.
And we learn to trust our heart too, I think, in that process.
Yeah.
I think that that feels good. Like, even if I ended up being wrong about it, it's like it felt good that I believed it. It felt good
Yeah.
that I opened my heart and I followed something despite whatever anything else. So I think I think also that it's easier for us to, like, for me, sometimes it's easier for me to see in someone else the hidden stuff or what's like it's
Yeah.
very easy for me to help other people, whereas with myself I may be a little bit more critical, like am I sure, or is this
Yeah.
really, but for other people it's like I
Hmm.
can see very clearly what other people are in an illusion about or what other people are hiding,
Yeah.
and I can see through so much of that. I think that's why I'm able to help people, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that like it's that same way for me, because with me it's way more complex. With me it's way more about my heart and it's way more about like
Yeah. And I
trusting
think because
myself.
we use extroverted feeling, it's easier to look at other people's
Yes.
stuff. We aren't as aware of our own feelings. And we actually, our introverted feeling function is in our shadow as the ignoring function. So sometimes we will literally ignore what we're feeling, like if it is not necessary.
Yes, that's a
There's,
huge thing. I think that that's I guess that's an ENFJ thing. I think that I definitely struggle with that sometimes, like
mm-hmm.
um ignoring things. I think that when we don't want to deal with something, we will ignore it. Like if we're not ready to believe something or we're not ready, we will ignore it. And that's, I think that that's,
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find this thing I wrote before. Um, oh, here, this is something I wrote is when necessary, you are skilled at putting what matters to you on the back burner to achieve a greater good. You will feel very uncomfortable in these situations where you have to choose between your emotional needs and the group needs. But pretty much at the end of the day, sometimes we will ignore our needs.
Yeah.
Depending on, and that's something that we can actually use our introverted intuition to gain more like intuitive clarity about, which I would say an example of how I have developed my introverted intuition is now before I do anything, I just check in with like spirit or like my higher self and like ask myself, like, do I feel positively compelled to do this thing, or is it actually fear that's causing this? Like, I'll analyze, like, is this root behavior fear or is it love? And I'll like just try and check in. And that's something that our introverted intuition can like really zero in on, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
Um,
I think it's important that we do that. Like, I think
mm-hmm.
it's very important that we do that because sometimes we may be running on this, like, this feeling or this, like I think that sometimes we can just really throw ourselves into something or push ourselves to where, like, I know you said that we have limited energy, and I think that that's
Yeah.
really true. I think that
Yeah.
I can really push myself to the absolute lengths. Like, I can throw myself down something and really, really drain myself because I want whatever is at the end of that, or I feel like I have
Yeah.
to do that. And it's, then I need 3 days to recover. And like, then I'm
Yeah.
really depressed and mad and pissed and
Oh
like,
my God. Yeah.
it's so not good. It's
We
not
tend to like identify with our higher self or our soul or something more than our actual body. And then we'll do
good.
things and we'll be like, why is this body so like tired or something?
Yes.
Like,
We really can believe in ourselves to the
oh
point of
yeah.
we don't know our limits. I think that
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have definitely in my life, so, and I still struggle with that, but
Mm-hmm.
knowing my limits is something that is so hard for me, I feel like, because I'll know them,
Oh
but I
yeah.
want to transcend them, or I'll,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's can be really self-neglecting. Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I have really struggled with that in my life, and putting myself to the side and putting things away that I feel because I just want to be able to be fierce, and I want to be able to just
Yeah.
go and be like limitless. But it's like
Yeah.
I'm a
This is
human.
kind of how where our NF idealism can sort of come in, is that so our FE is always trying to outdo ourselves. And like, I think that, at least for me, I will think, if I look around at society and I think that the only way that change has ever happened has been that somebody has believed in themselves and they have put themselves out there for the greater good and they've stretched themselves and then people followed, and like that's how innovation happens and stuff. And so it's like I'm trying to outdo myself,
Mhm,
and I'm a little bit idealistic about how that could be,
mhm.
but it's like I'm not monitoring my energy level or what is practical, because I guess I feel like if I was always doing what was practical, then I would never like achieve greatness, you
Yeah,
know?
I get that.
So it's like, how do I know like when to stop trying to achieve greatness for the day or something?
Yeah. Yes, I get that. I get that so much
Oh
because
my
I will
God.
put myself through hell. I will put myself through hell, and there like time, especially when I was, even when I was in school and stuff. Like, I would pull all nighters, and I would
Oh
stay
my
up,
God,
and I
yeah.
would literally just like, I don't know. I think that I really sometimes lose touch with that, or I lose
Mhm.
touch with what I should put myself through, or what I like, when I really should just stop.
Mhm.
I feel like it's hard for us to stop once we really are getting going, and once we
Mhm.
really feel in it and we feel great. It's so hard to stop that and be like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna. It's just like, I just want to go. So that's
Yeah.
really, that's been hard. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that people like see that. I think that people see that in us.
Yeah.
Where they may not see how drained we are, but I think that we are come off as very ambitious, and we come off
Yeah.
as very like self-motivated in a
Yeah.
way.
I don't think that they always can know like what the motivation is behind why we do that,
Yeah.
because I think it's obvious that ENFJs can like sort of get burnt out easily and like
Hmm.
sort of this burst of energy, and then we decline when we crash and burn, and then we try again or something. But like,
We have heart.
yeah, it's like, but I think sometimes maybe it could seem, it could be, I guess, unclear what our motivation is or what our intention is, because we sometimes won't stop to explain it.
Yeah, rarely.
um so I don't know how much time you have left, but there's something else, something I wanted to talk with you about as well, is how have you used, I guess, as an ENFJ, like in your career,
Hmm.
how has this stuff influenced how you have built your brand and like your offerings and stuff like that? Because I think that a lot of business is kind of dominated by thinking. And like, as I have tried to grow myself, like, cause I know I want to work for myself, like full time. I mean, I'm kind of doing a lot of stuff right now, but I think for us, we kind of have to do business differently, or like we have to like find processes that make sense with our feeling as opposed to just doing logical things. So I don't know, like how was that like for you as an ENFJ, sort of finding yourself in this position with a YouTube channel and like followers and your offerings, and how, what was that journey like to get to where you are, I
I
guess?
think that in a way, um, I feel like we are an exception. I think that we are, in a
Mhm.
way, have like an exception to the rule. But I think
Mhm.
it's because we provide this kind of like how you said we could be like the cult leader thing. I think that we provide this leader energy, or we provide something that
Mhm.
feels, it doesn't feel like business, because
Yeah.
in a way it feels very authentic and it feels real because it is to us. Like I feel like we really
Yeah.
want our position. We want to feel like we're doing what we want to do and impacting. So in a way, I feel like we have this like exception thing, whereas maybe other people feel they have to work and like think
Mhm.
and do all this stuff. But I think that we really just have to be ourselves and believe in it, which sounds cliche, but I think that ENFJ can be very successful when they travel the road less traveled. Like when they
Yes.
really go off route and go their own path. And
Mhm.
I think that can make people very envious of us as
Yeah.
well. But I think that, like, for me, I think that is what has given me success, because I
Yeah.
really just went, like, I was working at a restaurant job and I had maybe like 9,000 subscribers. And I was like building the channel, and like people were emailing me and wanting to, get stuff with me. And I was at a point where I only had like, I had saved like $1,000. I had saved up like
Mhm.
$1,000, and I wanted that to be enough for rent money, like a deposit, and to have a first month of rent. And it was like, as soon as I had that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move out, because I know if I move out of my mom's house, then I can do this more. Like I can
Mhm.
have more time and space and the privacy. So that was very impulsive. Like I literally told my job, this is my last 2 weeks. Like I'm gonna get my apartment, I'm gonna move in, and I literally just was like, I'm gonna trust in this, and I'm just gonna go
Yeah.
do this. So I
So
feel like,
something I want to say about that really quick is that I think that we can seem impulsive,
yeah,
but your introverted intuition is this sort of intense knowing that you got about your future and where you should go. And
yeah,
then you use your extroverted sensing, which is our tertiary function, to make the change. And
Yeah.
you might not have voiced to many people that you were maybe considering a change,
Yeah.
but then it
Nobody.
just hit you. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I was a music major my freshman year of college, and then I just randomly switched my major like in like a week.
Yeah.
And I so resonate with that, and like I feel like it can totally confuse people. And also it's like we
We're
don't
brave.
yeah, it is very brave. Also like
Brave.
we or what?
We're brave. I
Oh
think that
yeah.
people give us that credit.
Yeah,
Like, we're brave.
right. My friend who's an ENFP has said that he's like, I'm not sure if ENFJs are brave or stupid or both. And I was like, kind of both. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that there's definitely something to admire in that. And especially if you have the strong willpower to make it happen, because you didn't know what was going to happen. Like there was no like physical proof,
No.
you know, but like you trusted yourself, like you trusted your own willpower to make it happen.
Yeah. I think that we shape the world more than we allow the world to shape us. And
Oh, yeah.
I think that like when an ENFJ is letting the world shape too much of them and control them, that's when they block their magic. I feel like
Oh my God, yes.
has to really know we're shaping the world. Like we're the
Yes.
ones shaping that. We're the ones that are going to show other people like what is possible. I think in a lot of ways. Like so we have to put on the cape and like
Oh my
sometimes
God, yeah.
be the stupid one but the brave one. I think that that's really how we shape what's possible. I think that ENFJ can really show people what heights are possible in a lot of ways.
And I know whenever I've let the world shape me that I've just been a shell of a person.
Me
and
too.
I'm not very interesting when that's the case. When I'm hanging out with the wrong people, I'm not very interesting because I might be suppressing my like interesting whatever.
Yeah.
But like I think that's very inspiring for ENFJs to realize. It's something I've thought of too. I think INFJs can relate to this a lot too. But I think we're the type of people to like maybe feel like an emotional sponge and feel like the world is so cruel and that we don't belong and stuff like that. And to that I say like, don't let the world rub off on you.
Yeah.
Like, or like you can rub off the world. Like honestly, ENFJs, you need to show society a thing or two about how you should treat people, you know? Like that's part of it is like, I think ENFJs can maybe think, oh, everyone's so mean. Like, I don't fit in here. And it's like, you need to step up and be like, no, like that's not okay. And like, we're good at doing that, you know?
And it's scary at first. I feel like
it's
very scary and very threatening. But I feel like nothing can be more successful than true authenticity. Like I feel like when someone is truly authentic and they are true, I think that that is a magnet to success. Like and I think that's what ENFJ really has going for them. That despite whatever they go into or what anything that they choose, if they can really assert their authenticity, they're going to be successful in that path, because I think it's going to draw support. It's going to draw a lot to them, because I think we live in a world where like a lot of people are rubbed off by the world, and a lot of people do let the world tell them who to be, tell them what's possible, tell them like they let the world shape them, where we kind of don't like that. We have a lot of resistance to that. So I think we have to trust in that power that we have. Even if it takes its time or runs its course, I do feel that ENFJs give me the vibe of like destiny. I feel like a lot of us have like a little destiny energy to us, and we have to believe in that.
Oh my God, yeah. And I think that's partially like using your introverted intuition, because I think the more we visualize the life that we want, and the more we believe that, you know, that's pretty much a given if we work on it, at least. Like it's not going to just happen to us. But if we take the responsibility to really visualize, like, where would you want to see yourself in 5 or 10 years, and then work on making that happen every day, like we have a strong enough vision to where we can hold that in our brain and like plant the seeds in advance, like of like where we're going. And
We have direction. We're good
huh
at, we're good at direction, I feel, in a way.
yeah
Like direction, I think, is what a lot of people are missing in life sometimes.
yeah
Like they have skills and they have like even maybe resources, but I think that the real direction is what will get someone. You can like project yourself into the future if you know your direction, or if you have a real direction. So I think that we're good at that, and I think that
yeah I feel
like
like we have decent self-discipline. I've been wondering about that lately. Like, I don't know, how would you say you are with that? Because I feel like I can go back and forth. Like in some ways I'm not great at it,
yeah,
but I don't know.
me too. Like I have discipline, but I honestly don't. Like I have to really put myself in stressful position. Like I feel like I put myself in
Oh yeah.
positions, and then it feels like discipline.
Yeah,
Or
that's what I do. I think I more so arrange it to make me like not be able to back out. I
yes,
think.
I get that.
So okay, I don't want to take up that much more of your time, but I am curious of what are some things you did at the beginning to
Okay.
sort of make it less scary for you um when you were first starting out, because I kind of want to end this with some advice for ENFJs that maybe want to forge your own path or you're not sure how, because I do think we have like in our DNA like the ability to forge our own path.
Yeah.
And if we don't, then I think we will end up very disgruntled people, and there will always be something, a voice in our head kicking us.
To do it.
Yeah. So what are some, I guess, either tools or like self-care stuff or like anything that you did to sort of ease that transition?
One thing I think that's important, that it's kind of like if you don't get past that, you're not going to get too far, is like feeling like you deserve it. Because I feel like a big part of it is feeling like you deserve it. I feel like for me, I like had to really come to a place where it was like, okay, I'm choosing my desire. I deserve this. I deserve, like, I feel like it had a lot to do with that, like deserving. But I also think that it did require that connection to my inner self. And I think that
Yeah.
the tool that, if an ENFJ has a lot of like vision and they have a good idea, but they aren't really connecting with themselves and believing that they deserve this dream or they deserve this, then they're not gonna like really be
Yeah.
able to. But I think for me, as far as, I think that I really practiced a lot. Like I think that I started to learn about astrology in 2014. And from then on, just really started to studying it. And then in 2016 is when I left school and I moved back home. And I really started to get very deep and started to read for people. And, but that was at least like 3 years, you know, of really making sure like this is it, or like making sure like
That's the thing. We don't want to half-ass things. Like we're too insecure about opinions that,
yeah,
like, I knew you wouldn't just go out there and start talking about astrology unless you've done your homework. And like, that's like how I am, where like, I was so afraid to share anything about typology until I felt like I really grasped it and everything. And like, I think we
because it
can
was
be sort of insecure about that.
it took me a while to become confident enough.
Oh
I think
yeah.
that, like, I remember the year 2016, I did nothing that year but study astrology. Like, all I did was watch videos, read, and like, I literally put a whole year, you know what I mean? I feel like we have to really put ourselves in something fully.
Following our interests and our heart is a good idea of where our destiny might be.
Yeah.
Because it's like something in you was interested enough in astrology to go down that rabbit hole. And maybe not every ENFJ will feel that way about astrology, but there's something like in their life, like finding that passion. Like we're very passionate people. And I think there's definitely like some, I guess, gold behind, if we like mine that passion enough, you know, it's like we
Yeah.
do deserve, you know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
No, I get what you're saying though. Like I get that. And I think that it's also about like, it's also about not seeing it through a physical lens. I think that it's also seeing it from a lens of passion and seeing it from a lens of like, I'm the only me. Like I'm the only me. So my path is going to be created because I'm the only me on it. So I think it's very about like not seeing it for the physical and not seeing it for like, oh, well, this doesn't have like an open, like ENFJ has to make their own door open. I think that we
that's
do.
so
And
true.
we have to also believe that we will attract the tribe and we will attract the opportunities. Because I think that it's also like in the beginning of anything, it's really just you. Like it's really just you and you and whatever it is. And that's why you have to be authentic and you have to know that this is your path, because that's the only way you're going to be able to consistently go on it. And then people are going to draw to you and opportunity is going to draw to you.
Whenever I first started making YouTube videos, I just had the random intuition that I needed to do like a 30-day like challenge where I did a video once a day for 30 days. And I think I got like 400 subscribers or something within that month. And I think it was just I was sort of fed up with myself. I think that can happen to us too. Like we're sick of our own bullshit, you know, and it's like, I'm just going to do something here. But a couple other things I was thinking is that I think we have to realize that we aren't being selfish for thinking that we deserve something. And I think believing in the abundance of the universe is huge for us.
Yes.
Because if we don't believe that there's abundance, then we might think that we're selfish for wanting something when we don't realize like we're creating the value and that there's enough to go around. And if we don't know that there's enough to go around, then we might be afraid to take like our piece, you know.
And I think it's also too like by us doing that, we are helping people. And it's about that too, because I knew that like if this went well, it was gonna be something not only for me but for others. Like it was gonna be something that not only shaped my life or my destiny, but it was gonna somehow shape the lives of others, or it's gonna be about other people too. So I think it's also that too, like seeing it as it's not even just a selfish desire, but it's something that's bigger than us. Like us fulfilling whatever we're supposed to fulfill is not just for us, but it's for everyone else. Like especially our extroverted feeling. And like I think that we need to, if we feel low about something, we need to remember that it's going to pay off through how this is going to be something collective, or this is going to be not just about us. Even if it's, let's say, not a YouTube thing, or it's not something that's going to require an audience, even if it's just a field, it's like, I think that ENFJ has to remember that even though it starts off just being them, it's going to
you'll eventually be serving.
Right. And that's also why it's going to happen, because the world needs people who are going to serve. The world needs people like that.
Yeah. And I think too that like I'm very passionate about wanting to help like all ENFJs to never feel the way that I've felt of like feeling like you have to live somebody else's life, you know. And like I think you're just such a great example of an ENFJ. Everyone go subscribe to Olivia. But like but like I don't know, like I think we really need to like believe in yourself, believe in something. Like if we don't have that, then we really can deflate. And I don't know, just like knowing our strengths and all that. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this sort of takeaway?
I think that your Saturn is in Pisces, right? I think that also gives us another like magical spark for this world. Like I think that the ENFJ,
you are too, right?
Yeah. And I think that makes us like any ENFJs with the Saturn and Pisces, I think that they really have to believe that their dream or whatever, like, is supposed to be in this world, because it's like Pisces is the dream and Saturn is reality. So I feel like any ENFJs that have that have to know.
Are you in the third house?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And it's like they have to know that. It's like, I feel like we have to make our dream real. Like, that's the whole point. We have to make our dream in this world and put it in the collective, and we have to even like take on the suffering in that, in a way, and take on the pain in that, or the fear in that, but that it's not just for us, it's for like the higher it's a higher meaning. So I feel like spirituality, I think, is a really good thing for ENFJ.
Yeah.
Very good for us.
I think that knowing my astrology chart has helped me too with knowing my destiny. Because, for example, like, I'm like Aries moon, midheaven, like in the 10th house. And I'm also like Mercury conjunct my ascendant.
Yes. And it opposes your Neptune, right?
Yes.
And that's why you probably are psychic and can channel. And you can channel for your audience, because that Neptune is in your 7th house, I think.
When I do videos, I don't prepare really. Yeah, it is my 7th house. I just think about what I feel like people need to hear at that moment.
Yeah, I can see that in you.
Yeah, and it's like knowing about like my Aries moon and like my Mercury conjunct ascendant and just certain things like that. Even like my Mars in the 11th to a bit. It's like I look at it and I'm like, I'm supposed to be someone. You know what I mean? And like, I don't, and it's hard for me to believe that, but when I look at it, it's sort of like I'm not supposed to work for anyone else. I mean, like, my Aries moon, like, I have to do what I want. Yeah. Like, if I'm not doing what I want, I'm not gonna. I don't know.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I've noticed too with that, like, my 2nd house is ruled by Leo, and my 6th house is ruled by Sagittarius. And it's like, I've thought a lot about how, like, my working life, like how I make money, what I do in the day, and my 10th house, I am gonna do what I want.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's like the fire there, and I don't know.
Knowing the chart is the key. If you can learn astrology and if you can understand your chart and accept it, then you are golden. Like, if you can really see, I think that the natal chart really does show people like a blueprint of kind of like this whole, it's like a real map of your life. It's very much so a map of your life. So I like how you said that that's kind of hard for you to accept sometimes, that you are supposed to be like, I feel like it's like it's always been like that for me too, but then it comes to a point where it's like, well, then if I don't accept this, then I'm just in my own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like if a ENFJ can learn their chart and find or get a reading or figure out enough about their path and their direction via the natal chart, then they really can have potential. Then they really know.
And looking like at my North Node too is a big one for like destiny. Like, I think that the more I look at my chart as a whole,
it's possible.
It's kind of makes me think, and I don't know how you feel like about your chart and stuff. It's sort of like, I'm a badass. It's like kind of when I see it, I look at my chart, like I don't see that in myself as much as I do in my chart. Sort of like, why am I acting like especially as a Cancer rising sometimes. Like, why am I acting like I'm not an Aries moon in the 10th? You know, like
your Mercury there on your ascendant is why you're going to think a lot about what you do and yourself and your actions. And you're going to think a lot about what you're doing, why you're doing it. Like, so you are going to have a lot of those thoughts about yourself, but you should feel that way. I feel like my chart has a lot going on in it, but like, I know for me, I have Pluto in my 11th house. So I know I'm here to transform the collective. Like, I know that I'm here to change the collective patterns. Like, my Venus Aquarius trines my Libra midheaven. So I know I'm here to establish relationships with people.
And is your North Node also in the 11th?
It's in the 10th house. Actually.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I have my North Node and Pluto in the 5th in Scorpio.
Okay.
And I have thought about how I think that, and then my Mars is in the 11th
Yeah.
in Gemini.
So you
But
have to also follow your heart with
yeah,
your
I've
Node in the 5th house.
the way I've interpreted that, and I want to know if this checks out, but like I have to sort of like I won't really get my tribe unless I work on my personal projects.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my South Node there, like I think maybe in the past, like I have been very focused on everybody else, but I feel like I've found my people and my like following or like my tribe through 5th house activities, sort
Yeah,
of.
I get that. You'll be supported. If your South Node is
Yeah.
in the 11th, you're definitely gonna have support and like an audience, and
Yeah, and it's like
you're
I
gonna
feel like I kind of have to like pull away and not focus on that, and it'll just do its thing.
have,
But if I focus on it, I can like get in my own way, kind of. I don't know.
No, I get that. But with your North Node in the 5th house, that's like the more that you go towards whatever makes you happy, that's literally gonna open it all for you. So that is like you
Mhm.
have to really care about things. Is it Scorpio? It's in Scorpio.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're somebody that has to really get care. I was gonna say give a fuck, but you have to really care deeply about
Yeah.
your heart and care about the things you really want and let it transform you. Like you have
Yeah.
to be open to that.
I kind of feel like my Cancer rising and Mercury is kind of my FE in a way. Or at least how it manifests in me. Not that
Yeah.
all Cancer is that, but it's like sort of having to go through like Cancer, I love you, it's great, but like I can't always be there. I don't know. Or
No,
like I can use it to my advantage and not like hide behind it. I don't know.
and get people can you can establish trust. Like you can get people to feel
Mm.
comfortable with you and trust you with your Cancer rising.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
A good thing too. Even if like you can't always be there, the Cancer rising
Yeah.
is gonna make people feel like they can trust you with a
That's what I
lot of.
really try and do like in my videos is like be vulnerable and like put my emotions out there so that people feel like they know me, which then sometimes it sucks whenever it's like, oh, they don't know me.
Yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about earlier, but
Yeah, I get that.
anyway, so what would you do you want to pitch any of your like where can people go to find out about you or what should
Um,
they
well, my channel, of course, is OJC Astrology, and my Instagram handle is the same, OJC Astrology. I feel
I'll
like
link
right
those
now
below.
I'm not really like offering too much. I'm not really
Okay,
doing that many readings or anything like that. Like I'm still doing them, but it's not. I don't have that many things available. But
gotcha.
I am trying to put myself in a position where I can do more series and do
Mm-hmm.
more stuff for everyone rather than like doing more one-on-one things. But
Oh, I love the way that you dropped like your Venus series, and maybe you've done that with other ones, but I like how you were just like, bam, here's all of them.
yeah, I literally when I did that, this is probably my NI, but for like 45 minutes, I was so nervous and I
Oh
was
my
literally
gosh.
dizzy and I was feeling so much pressure and anxiety because I knew that once I did that, it was gonna release a lot of energy, and I was literally shaking. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I almost did. I literally recorded that series, and it took me 2 weeks to build up courage to post it.
Oh
Like,
my God. See, yeah. I know I so know how you feel like I'm doing like my series on like the cognitive functions. I think I only have a couple more videos left to do. But for some reason it's like I've done so many videos where I've mentioned the cognitive functions, but to sit
yeah,
down and be like, "Hey, this is what it is so hard." And it's like I'm sure you've mentioned the Venus signs
yeah,
before.
exactly.
Why is it hard?
Oh my God, that gave me so much anxiety.
Oh my
That I was so nervous that, but now it's like that I got it over with. I can do it again.
Mhm.
But that was definitely something. And it's like, once you let it out, now it's whoever's going to perceive it, however they're going to perceive it is not up to me. Like I
I
have,
absolutely loved the Virgo Venus video so much. Actually, your video you did, I made like both of my best friends watch it and my significant other. I was just like, watch this.
Yes.
So yeah, you did a great job.
Yay. Thank you.
And yeah, for those of you who are maybe new to my channel, I suggest looking at my cognitive function series and figuring out which cognitive functions you use, because that is sort of, a lot of my videos are very like in the weeds of this stuff, which I'm trying to not do. Like, I mean, I'm wanting to make it, I really want to make this stuff more digestible.
Okay.
And not just in a bubble. Because I don't know your opinion of how when you started to find the personality type stuff, but I feel like a lot of it can be kind of confusing at first, or like,
it can be. I feel like it's like astrology too in that way.
oh yeah, it kind of is, because it's like there's so many different opinions, and it's kind of like up to you to decide like what you think.
The way that you speak to me was very inspiring. Like, it made me want to know. Like, it made me want to know exactly what you were talking about, because I really believed you. Like, I really felt like this girl has the entire rhetoric and language of this. So that means that I must be able to learn it too. There must be a whole rhetoric and language if you can be able to deliver it. So I feel like
I really appreciate that.
You present, and I love all your videos too, where you talk about how you perceive the certain types.
Thank you.
Because those are very intuitive. Like, those are very psychic. When I watched the INFP one with my
God. Oh yeah.
Like at the end of it, I was like, that was fucking amazing. Like, I was like, that was so psychic. That was so like, because I feel like you deliver knowledge, but you also deliver like your intuition. So
yeah,
it feels so, it's so iconic.
You know Thank you for saying that, because I can get very hard on myself and like feeling like I don't source Carl Jung enough, or I'm not specific enough, and like all this.
I literally look at you as like you are the source, and I trust you. Like, I feel like you have a delivery that's very authentic and trustworthy. So it's like when I hear you, I'm just like, wow, like wow, like this is making so much sense. This is flawless. Like,
yeah, it's like I'm expecting, and I think all of us with our personalities, we can sort of assume that other people think like us, even if we know type and we know that's not true. But like, it's like I assume that people are doing their own critical thinking, doing their own research, and deciding for themselves, like probably how you listen to me, thinking like, oh, this makes sense, or that yeah, whatever. I think that's, and another thing is like with ENFJs, that we need to trust our own delivery in our own way, because there are people that like to hear it delivered that way, like you being an example. Which, thank you for sharing that with me, because it's like I haven't even watched that series back since I've done it, but that INFP video, I think I have like over 50K views on it or something crazy.
It was so real.
Thanks. It's like my most popular video, and I don't even know why. Like, I don't even remember what I said. But I totally was just like intuitive, like saying whatever.
You being like that is what's going to inspire other people to go and find the research, because it's like you delivered it and it's something you can trust. So now if people want to know more, it's like you can like kind of be the way shower. Like, I feel like
that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, you're like a way shower, in a way of where you deliver so strong that if people don't want to research it after listening to you, they probably just aren't even that into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
so you're gonna attract the people that are really into you and the way that you deliver and the way that you speak. You kind of like not well, I guess I could say command. You command a certain like, you just have that. You have that like unique spark. I think so. I think that's why you'll be like, and I think that also we're in a time now where all of this stuff is getting more popular. All of this is getting more, so people like me and you who have been doing it already for like 2 years or whatever, we are people that it was before the wave, if that makes sense. Like, before, so we're kind of like a trusting source.
Yeah.
And because we deliver so authentically.
There's a lot more MBTI videos popping up. Like a lot more people are talking about it, and astrology as well. Like I even saw, did you ever see the Netflix episode about astrology? Did you hear about that?
I don't think so, no.
It's like that show Explained that's like through Vox.
Ooh,
you should definitely watch it. They show some astrology YouTubers in it, but there was a statistic in there. I don't know what it is, but it was something ridiculous of like 50% increase or like over the past year of like searching astrology. Like it was like an exponential increase.
Yeah, that's Neptune in Pisces.
Oh yeah.
Ever since 2008, Neptune went into Pisces. And I feel like since then, spirituality and all of these other weird things, people are really starting to like get into.
I think all of the Capricorn stuff going on, things are hard right now too.
Yes,
that I feel like people don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Even like Uranus going into Taurus and like things are collapsing and like we don't know what to expect. And I think that people are realizing they have to look inward. They have to take responsibility for their own happiness, that they're going to have to look beneath the surface and not just think like that this is how it's always going to go and stuff like that. And yeah, like and also for those of you who might be new, I do offer personality typing like services where the way I do it, there are people that do like tests and like do it more objectively, but for me, I care way more about seeing like the real you and like helping you find your type sort of thing, where like if you reveal yourself to me, I know the types enough to be able to pinpoint it, but it is a more intuitive, emotional sort of thing where like I like just want to help people find their type. So
yeah, I feel like people who are on the fence about it or they can't really decide, you're perfect for that. I think that people should go to you to give them that confirmation.
Yeah.
Then it's going to help them identify. Like, I think that that's the best, that people can go to you for that. Because I know a lot of people who will be like, oh, I'm ENFJ and INFJ. And like, I think that like, you can't, like, you can be a little bit of both, but I feel like if people should get that confirmed, like, because I know for me, it makes me feel so good to know I'm like, I had like 3 days where I thought I was an INFJ and that didn't last long.
I've tested as an ENFP before because sometimes the tests are confusing with P and J. And it'll be like, are you adaptable or do you stick by the rule book or something?
Yeah.
And I would say, I guess I'm adaptable. It's like, it's not exactly right. And so I also give people type descriptions I wrote, like the one I was just reading about you. I can send you the ENFJ one too, if you want. Cool. But like, I will give people like the different types so that they can read it themselves and be like, you're either this or that. Because the thing is like, ENFP is going to have a completely different process than ENFJ, even though they're just one letter off. And like, but yeah, anyway.
One more thing I'm going to say, I'm really proud of being a J. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like, I know, like, my girlfriend's an INFP, and, like, she'll say things like, oh, you're such a J, or stuff like that, but it's like, I like that. Like, I think that some people will see that, and they don't understand. They think that that means they're judgmental. They think that
exactly.
they're, like, an asshole, or something like that, and it's like, no, it's really about, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I think that understanding those, like, I feel like if you did a series on that, like, if you just did kind of a video on, like, what does the J mean, and you kind of said that, or what is the T versus the whatever, that would help people, because I think people are like, am I an introvert or an extrovert? Am I judgmental or am I perceptive?
I do have one recently that was judger or perceiver, but I also kind of like the idea of, like, what does it mean to be a judger, like, itself? Sort of thing.
Yeah, because I honestly love it. I don't think I've ever typed as a P. I think I've always been a J. And
I wonder if part of that is your Capricorn rising in a way.
Yeah, and I have Saturn on my sun.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm very, like,
So the thing that's difficult is that SJs and NJs are so completely different types of Js, to where we aren't super detail oriented as intuitives, and so we might not be very detailed or methodical, but for us it's more about seeing in the future, making goals and like sticking to them, having like a strong will,
like boundaries.
yeah.
And discernment. I feel like we are able to, like, I'm able to feel if something is like not right with me because of the J, or like like able to know where I fit and where I don't, or with like if something's right or not. I don't know. I like the J.
Yeah, it's like we have our own perception of things, and then we can work based on that perception to reach a goal. But like your girlfriend, for example, as an INFP, the perception might change by the minute, and so that could maybe make them seem lazy or like change their mind or seem flighty sort of thing. But it's because they're also kind of like so open that it could be hard to step forward. But
yes, definitely.
anyway,
and for us it's like we know exactly, like I don't feel like we're that open. Like we're open, but we have our direct, like, I don't know, I feel
we
like
stay in our own lane.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. And I feel like that's needed. I feel like we need the INFPs and we need the ENFJs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of the astrology community is full of NFJs and NFPs. And I feel like you can really see the difference there. But anyway, I would love to, do another video with you again or talk with you some more, because I know I could talk like forever, honestly.
And I think I'll come, if we do another one, I'll have like certain questions ready, or I'll have like something else too. Like,
that would be kind of, if you would ever want to do one on your channel and like interview me, I would freaking love that. And like you could prepare like some sort of cut through it, like why the hell should I believe in this sort of questions. That'd be so fun.
I would do that. I would definitely do that, because I really want to bring the typology to my channel too.
Yeah, and I would love that, because for me, I think the astrology community, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between the two communities, but I like how open-minded the astrology community is, and I feel like I almost vibe with that more in a way.
My audience will vibe with you.
Yeah, I definitely think the same. If anyone, and so, okay, do you have a set schedule for like, do you do videos like every new moon and full moon, or?
Yeah, I do. For new and full moons, I pretty much always will have a video out at least the day before on my channel.
Yeah.
And
I would just say, if you're a skeptic of astrology, perhaps check out one of her videos on that day and see if it fits. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We should set it up though. We should do it before the year is up.
Oh yeah. I would absolutely love to. Thank you so much for joining me. Like, I feel like this, hopefully, conversation could really help some ENFJs, and you're just, I think, a very inspiring person. And thank you so much.
Yay.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.